Howdy diddly, y'all, and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Stefan Guardia, coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Justin Hio. It's March 30th. On today's show, President Biden signs a bill that recognizes lynching as a federal hate crime. USC employees protest high wages and combating LA's trash problem.
Something stinks, all that and more from Where We Are. But first, these news headlines. The White House has pledged an additional $500 million in direct aid for Ukraine as the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Meanwhile, Russia has pledged to reduce attacks, but parts of Kiev and Chernihiv are still getting attacked.
LA County is offering a second booster shot of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for those ages 50 and up. The recently approved booster comes in response to the BA.2 Omicron subvariant, which is currently the most dominant strain in the U.S.
Republican Senator Susan Collins will vote in favor of confirming Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court. Collins will be the first Republican senator to endorse the judge.
And the Hubble Space Telescope breaks its 2018 record by observing the furthest individual star ever seen. Natural magnification allowed the telescope to record the star, which lies 12.9 billion light years away from Earth.
That's madness. Those were some of today's top news headlines. That's crazy. 12.9.
I'm saying, like...
After 100 years of failure, President Biden finally made lynching a federal hate crime. Daishalyn Satcher has more on the significance of the bill and how lynching has been defined, then redefined through centuries.
The long overdue Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act was signed into law by President Biden this past Tuesday. The act, named after one of the most well-known lynching victims, Emmett Till, now classifies the act of lynching as a federal hate crime. Professor Ken Gonzalez-Day, the Fletcher Jones Chair in Art at Scripps College, dives into the immediate impact of the act in terms of the more recent spike in hate crimes.
They've been trying to pass a law like that for 100 years, actually over 100 years. So it's amazing that it's finally passed. And what's great about it in terms of sentencing is that will be a federal law. So people will not be able to get out of sort of the local state laws, which vary greatly across the nation.
Although lynching isn't as widely seen as it used to be, it didn't disappear completely. It has recently reappeared, just in different forms.
Modern-day lynching is hard to define, but recent events like the Aubrey killing would certainly qualify, and certainly in that case there's a court of law that has ruled that the killing was clearly illegal, so that might be a very good candidate for a modern-day version.
Professor Terence Fitzgerald, an expert in the reproduction of racism in U.S. society and racism and institutional oppression, provides the extent of his definition.
Lynching is classified under everything from the actual act of lynching, any physical act of terrorism. We could think of the victims of the past and even those in the future, any sort of act of violence that is based on, the racial hatred.
Fitzgerald speaks on how it provides reassurance for him personally.
It sends a signal, it symbolizes to those, for us as people of color, that the law is on our side, that when things do happen, we know that the law will take a harsh stance against this sort of violence.
Biden signed the bill into law after receiving unanimous support from the Senate. The bill makes the crime punishable by up to 30 years in prison. While there are still ways to go, we are one step closer to justice being served.
Daishalyn Satcher on the story. That was Daishalyn Satcher on the story. Apologies, Daishalyn.
If you were on campus this afternoon, you might have seen a crowd marching from Tommy Trojan to the Village. That crowd was demanding higher wages for the janitorial staff at USC. Hanah Abualhaj has more on the story.
Today marked the last day of USC's contract with Aramark, the company that employs the campus janitorial staff. For months, the Service Employees International Union, or SEIU, which is under the United Service Workers West, and the janitorial staff have been calling for a wage increase. In response, USC proposed a 30-cent wage increase, but this afternoon, protesters gathered in the village to demand more. Many, like Union President David Huerta, say the proposal is still far below a living wage.
And for an institution that's worth upwards of $5 billion to only offer 30 cents to essential workers, I think is not only an insult to these custodian workers who have basically maintained this institution operable during these full 2 years, but in my opinion, it's an insult to all working people.
The protesters were mainly union leaders and janitorial staff. However, some students also took part in the demonstration. Members of SCALE, USC's student coalition against labor exploitation, like freshman Liddy Woodford, agrees with Huerta.
So these people aren't directly employed by USC, so they're not protected by any rights that USC workers might have.
Amelie Whitesell, who is also a member of SCALE, is thinking about ways students can support organizers.
Yeah, and they need students to help them due to clauses in the contract. They can't be doing some organizing on campus, so they need to really get the word out to have.
Huerta sees great value in the student participation during these protests.
I feel a sense of optimism that working people are finding their voice, and by extension, the student body here, I think, are seeing that, and they want to be part of that.
If USC does not respond to the demonstrations today, the SCIU organizers and protesters plan to continue next week. For Annenberg Media, I'm Hanah Abualhaj with help from Blair Batson.
I'm Stefan de la Guardia. We're glad you're with us for From Where We Are.
And I'm Justin Hio. It's 7 minutes past the hour. Coming up, LA has a trash problem. How is the community trying to fix it? And on Tuesday, 3 men disrupted a class at USC. Turns out it was a prank. We talked to USC student and fellow host Jordan Sheldon, who was there when it happened. Stay with us.
Do you smell that? LA has a trash problem. The county has been trying for years to find a solution on how to clean up the streets. Some residents are coming together to tackle the issue. As Esther Quintanilla reports, one organization has taken its mission further by including social activities in their community cleanups.
Ooh, a Band-Aid. Yum.
This is the sound of trash getting picked up in Woodland Hills by the community cleanup crew Overdue. The group got started when Max Sawaki was out walking his dog.
He almost stepped on a needle, and I invited my roommate to pick up trash, and that's how we started.
It's something that Max did, just on his daily walks.
That's Igor Leonti, Sawaki's roommate.
It kind of picked up, and it snowballed from there, and it was all organic growth.
Overdue has cleaned up all around LA County since 2020. According to its website, they've collected over 55,000 pounds of trash from neighborhoods, lakes, and hiking trails. Kerjan Lee from LA County Public Works says the county produces about 30 million tons of trash each year.
On average, every resident of LA County, all 10 million residents, are sending about 5 pounds of trash or waste to landfills on a daily basis.
The county is working toward reducing how much waste is being sent to landfills.
The county has a vision for its communities, for them to be vibrant and waste conscious. So to achieve this vision, we've set a goal of diverting 95% of waste from landfills by 2045.
Trash is still a problem that Angelinos have to deal with every day until then. Organizations like Overdue have popped up all over the San Fernando Valley. People are looking for ways to help keep their streets clean. There are a few governmentally funded programs that pick up trash in LA. The Department of Public Works and LA Sanitation will pick up large garbage and clean up illegal dumping, but the litter scattered on sidewalks is often overlooked.
The services of the cities and the county are essentially the last line of defense on the streets. When people don't dispose of their waste properly, either by littering or just it maybe blows out of their trash cans, then the county and cities come in to pick up that waste. And we call them the 4 R's, and you might remember them from school. The 4 R's are reduce, reuse, recycle, and rethink.
Taking responsibility is something Leonti thinks should be put on everyone in the community.
It falls on all of us, each individual that consumes and produces waste. It falls on us to clean up after ourselves.
What is that?
No.
What is that?
Wait, guys, we found a dead bird.
One time there was a human finger.
Sammy Evans joined Overdue about a year ago after seeing them pass through her neighborhood.
And I was like, who are these people who are doing such amazing things in my neighborhood? And I was like, I have to go. So I went and I picked up trash, and then they all talked to me afterwards. And I'm like, God, they're so cool. I finally found my people in the valley.
Evans appreciates that Overdue is making a difference in her community.
It's just lovely to have them here and to have built a community of people who are like really trying to see the beauty in our own community and like how we can make it better.
Aw,
Buried underneath in the big crumb, a bean?
A meme.
Oh, is that from What Do You Meme? Like the card game?
Oh, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
20 to 30-year-olds get together not just to clean up, but also to go out to local bars to hang out.
We call them trash friends. It's a unique community that you can't really get from like networking events, from like businesses, and because it's a non-profit, because it's a volunteer experience, right?
That's the best thing about groups like Overdue. Close friendships are made while doing good for the community. For Annenberg Media, I'm Esther Quintanilla.
So I'm sure many of you guys have heard about an incident that occurred in Taper Hall yesterday. There's yet to be a DPS report about it, so there are many rumors going around. One of our Tuesday hosts, Jordan Sheldon, was actually in the class where this incident occurred. And Jordan's joining us right now to tell us about what happened and clear up some of these rumors.
I was sitting in the exact row where the situation unfolded, and it was already a pretty tense lecture, and the subject matter was very sensitive. And this man who he was a big, very built man that came in. He was wearing all black, had tattoos, and he was holding a briefcase, and he's demanding money from some guy in my row. He says, "Is this your name? I'm looking for this guy." And the guy seemed kind of confused. I wasn't sure at this point whether he was a plant in the audience, whether he was a co-conspirator. I was very frightened. I went into a fight or flight mode.
So you told us before we were on air that the director of the program, Dr. Leah Hockman, sent you guys an email following this incident, but DPS has yet to do the same.
DPS has, to my knowledge so far, not released a single statement reassuring the students about the incident. I had one from my professor, but additionally, all of this has to be, unless you're in my class, there were other students in Taper Hall that were notified about the incident and saw people fleeing.
Were they made to evacuate as well?
To my knowledge, not everyone evacuated at the time, right?
What?
Because this class ended at 3:20, and I overheard another student on FaceTime with someone, and this is just word of mouth and what his testimony was, but he said that his teacher more or less ignored the alert and ignored the commotion as there was no official alert from DPS, and they stayed in class. So had that been a violent incident, it could have escalated to something far worse.
Like, has the university kind of prepared you at all for an active shooter drill, or maybe like an active, I don't know, an assailant coming into a classroom? Because I know in high school we did all these drills in case there was a threat in the classroom. Is this something we do in college?
I think that you should always be prepared in the event of an emergency such as this. If I think that it couldn't hurt to do a drill, but then again, it's a sad reality that we live in, to where we need to worry about an incident like this happening in a place of education.
But do you think USC...
So it may be more of an issue of security and tightening security. And to my knowledge, the two individuals who were taken to the LAPD, they were not students of USC, and that's not supposed to happen. You're either supposed to have a contact from USC on campus with the Trojan check completion, and it's just sad to me, and it's surprising that these individuals were able to just slip into a lecture hall. I think when an incident like this happens, DPS needs to notify the students right away to the best of their knowledge. With the whole prank aspect is what may be making this separate from different incidents, right? Like, this was revealed to be a prank. Oh, so it's not a safety concern, when in reality, like, this prank was traumatizing for a lot of people.
Jordan Sheldon, student, Merriman, host on Tuesday, and our friend who is safe and sound. Jordan, thank you. And that's all we have time for on today's From Where We Are. The show is produced by Polina Cherezova, Wilko Martinez-Cachero, and Meredith McCabeT.
Polina Cherezova is our technical operator, and Derek Renfro composed our theme music. We are streaming live on KXSC. Follow KXSC at kxsc.org/listen, and on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News.
Also, follow us on Instagram at Annenberg Radio, and subscribe to From Where We Are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're looking for even more news, be sure to download Annie, Annenberg's news app. I'm Stefan Guardia.
And I'm Justin Hio. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for
From Where We Are. Bye.